when you move to the cloud, are you locked in? What if if after 6 months you think, whoops, no, not for me? Is it too late to change?
There's an interesting parallels and decisions that we've had to make with IT over the years. People have had to grapple with the same questions. If I buy this database system, am I really locked in? If I buy this customer relationship management system, am I really locked in? At the end of the day, these are all major decisions. Cloud is very similar. How far do you want to go? If you buy infrastructure as a service, backing out of a piece of infrastructure is relatively straightforward. If you're putting your major business systems out into the cloud, that's another scale of decision, and it involves another scale of risks.
And I would argue that we need to do more work in the IT industry to build standards to enable those sorts of things to occur. So today, to move stuff from one cloud provider to the other isn't simple yet. And as you go up those layers, as you point out, it gets more complex. So I think this is where things like standards are going to be critically important, because ultimately, if we don't deliver portability and the ability to migrate between cloud providers, that's going to be an impediment, I think, to people really getting on board.
What about, yeah, go on.
And here's the challenge for IT, in a sense, coming back to your original question with IT, is that in the past, we've have been the people with the screwdrivers in our hands. We make stuff happen. Now, there is no lesser job with cloud computing around. We just don't build the stuff, but we have to worry about security, reliability, the relationship with our suppliers, the relationship with the rest of the business. In a sense, it's even more complex of a job, but it's a different job. It's not the sort of job that we used to have when I started in computing, where we used to write assembler code. We don't do that anymore. We don't write assembler anymore. Similarly, we don't need to start writing detailed systems anymore. It's just one more step down the generations.
I used to think that only some businesses had seasonal variations, but then the GFC reminded us that every business can have seasonal fluctuations. Is the cloud good for businesses where there are peaks and troughs, Mark?
Well, and that's absolutely true. Amazon's Elastic Compute Cloud is the best example of this. And in fact, it's a very good example of this, in that if I suddenly turn out to have a flavor of the month website or web service offering, I can immediately buy as much computing power from them on demand. And so I could become the most popular website in the world and still be able to handle all of that traffic.
And then when it all ends, bring
it all back in again.
Number one hit, you can bring it back in.
Exactly. And you see a lot of projects that get launched that turn out to be much more popular than they ever thought, and they fall over right away because people did not build them, say, in the cloud. So more and more people are turning to the cloud because they want to be able to handle that kind of success.
And that's kind of referred to this elasticity. I can stretch it out, I can build it up, and I can let it come back as required.
But related to that is not only the elasticity element, which is very important, is the ability to fail fast as well. So the upfront cost being smaller, I can try more things.
Right.
And if I try more things, I will end up finding the gem that I can then scale very fast. And I'm going to be able to throw away the nine attempts that I failed with a very limited upfront cost.
Okay.
So there is a new competency that is starting to emerge in enterprises where they want to have a more rapid innovation team, where instead of having to buy 10 servers and so on and so forth, in order to try something, they can try it very quickly, very cheaply out in the cloud, see if it works. If it works, they're going to pour more resources, sometimes even bring it back inside the enterprise, or just let it go. And that creates an innovation cycle that we didn't have before. And
I assume on your balance sheet there is a move away from capital expenditure to day-to-day operating costs. Are the accountants going to like that?
This could be good news for the accountants because the issue is that we have a lot of our costs of our IT is often seen as a cost. And a lot of that is due to us needing to buy large amounts of capital equipment that's there for predicted requirements. And it's really hard to have that discussion with your CFO. We believe that requirements will grow over this time, so trust me, we have to spend all of this money. Now, one of the nice and quite often undiscussed issues about cloud computing is that it actually exposes the unit cost of IT. Now, if you are buying IT services or infrastructure or software or whatever by the unit, you can have quite a different discussion with your CFO. You can say, our business is growing at a certain rate, therefore we believe that will drive usage at a certain rate, therefore this is the cost of IT. And it's a hard question to deny.
Right.
This is just
keeping that sort of cost and proportion to the business needs is, I think, the most compelling thing. It does raise a challenge, though, in that budgets and cycles and the way people have acquired capital before. That will have to change, because if you're dealing with operating expenditure, and there's some classic examples where you can go and put this stuff on your credit card, so suddenly an employee comes back with, a $15,000 credit card bill because he went nuts on the elastic compute cloud. We have to deal, organizations are clearly going to have to figure out how to run with that.
And I think the other side of the coin here is that if you're a computer reseller, you also may be looking at a drop in your business, because you're not going to be getting a firm buying 10 servers. So they're going to go and rent the space from Amazon or from Microsoft or from another cloud supplier. And so that the constant need for computing equipment, which has really been a feature of at least the first decade of this millennium, is going to start to evaporate now. And so those companies that built their businesses around that may be in for hard times.
We shouldn't lose sight of the fact that also, even within the private clouds, it's going to have advantages, because if I can pool all of those resources together, instead of having to have separate servers that, as you point out with your lawnmower analogy, highly underutilized, I can even deliver that proportionate cost to a certain degree within a private cloud as well.
Because in fact, if I own 5 lawnmowers and rent it out to the neighbourhood, I might make money out of it. Yeah. And that's I think the attraction of cloud computing, is that there are enterprising people who can come up with, at the moment, cloud is the purvey of companies who can provide large amounts of infrastructure, software, hardware or whatever. But as we grow over time, there will be enterprising people who build specific tools, who will say, I can get 5 lawnmowers. I will start to offer specific point services that are available within that realm. And you're starting to see that the UK government, through its G-Cloud initiative, is talking about an app store, in a sense of, why do we have one agency creating ideas and doing things, and not having other agencies able to just leverage that stuff that we've built? And if you join App Store and cloud together, it means that you can not only get it, but readily deploy it. And that's been always the tough bit. You can always say, well, yes, that's fine. Such and such a department has built this really good software, but it won't work. Yeah. I can't get it to work in my environment. But if it's in the cloud, it's going to work because it's in a defined environment.
About people calling for open cloud computing, referring to standards that would facilitate portability. Is this something that you see happening? Is it necessary? Everyone's got their own cloud solutions?
The further you get up the stack, the less portable things become inherently. We're already starting to see companies that will allow you to port infrastructure around really easily. I mean, there's a company that announced on TechCrunch earlier this week that you can port into the EC2 cloud just by pressing a few buttons, and things like that are going to happen. But when you get all the way up to business process as a service, again, you want data portability out of those systems, but those systems may be highly custom, and the degree that they're highly custom, the less portable they are.
But I think to kind of also address the question you asked, the answer is yes. People are requesting that. It's a common set of requests. What are the standards, and how do I achieve that? And what I like to see, and exactly as Mark was pointing out, is that innovation can occur in this space, and people can actually build tools to enable services to do that. And I, again, touches on GP's point earlier about some new innovation models that are occurring in this space, which I think is really quite exciting.